Young and the Restless SpoiVictoria Newman Spoilers reveal the tension between Victoria and Cole when Nikki discovers the truth. The bad news about Holden Novak's health hits like a storm, sweeping away all plans and hopes for a stable future. Victoria knows that Holden's time is running out, every day and every hour that passes becomes precious. However, there is no room for despair or sadness in her heart. On the contrary, she cherishes the moments with him even more, deciding to hold a simple, warm wedding with Holden, as a way to affirm their love amid the changes of fate. But Victoria's decision does not receive absolute consensus from her family. Nikki, Victoria's experienced and shrewd mother, is always careful with every choice her daughter makes. Nikki cannot easily accept the fact that Victoria is betting her heart on someone who is about to leave this world. She was terrified to see the shadow of pain and loss reappear in Victoria's eyes, something she had witnessed before and did not want her daughter to experience again. Nikki watched Victoria's every move, every word, half wanting to protect her, half helpless before her determination. That maternal love was mixed with worry and even a bit of hidden reproach, wondering why Victoria chose such a challenging path, when there were still so many opportunities, so many brighter paths out there. However, the real storm only began when Nikki had in her hands evidence accusing Cole Howard, the man who had been Victoria's support, the man she loved and trusted. Nikki discovered that Cole had faked an illness to take advantage of her sympathy, to pull Victoria back to him, despite the truth of her feelings for Holden. Victoria's emotions were torn. On one side was disappointment and pain from the deception, on the other side was the memory of what they had together, of a passionate and hopeful youth. Nikki, with her innate sharpness, did not hesitate to expose Cole, creating a new earthquake in Victoria's already turbulent life. A doubt arose in her heart, whether after all the scandals, the feelings between her and Cole were still intact as before, or were there only irreparable cracks left? Amidst those undercurrents, Victoria made a bold decision. She wanted to keep an eye on Cole, wanted him to move into the storage house with her and her daughter as a family. This proposal surprised Cole. He thought that their daughter was about to leave, that the sweet memories would be forgotten, but Victoria gently explained that the move had been postponed. Her other children were also living there, and everyone thought that Cole was living with the family. Nick, the brother who always had a realistic view of things, had also agreed to let them solve their own problems. For Victoria, this was not just a temporary solution. She wanted Cole to witness and share every emotion and moment of their life together, as a way to heal the past wounds. Victoria affirmed that their daughter always wanted her parents to be happy, and more than anyone, she knew that Cole could bring joy and peace to both mother and daughter. She admitted that Cole's absence during the days he was away made her feel empty and lost. That was the biggest reason why she wanted him to move in with her, because only when they were together could they overcome all the barriers and challenges that fate had arranged. She expressed to Cole that it was difficult to be away from him during his recovery, and she promised not to leave him alone when his illness relapsed again. Those words seemed to touch the depths of Cole's soul, making him realize that this was probably the last chance for them to truly live together, enjoy what was left of their lives without regrets. The two reflect on the long and challenging journey they have been through, from the stormy days, the misunderstandings, to the moments of forgiveness and reunion. They admit to each other that, after all, they truly belong to each other, and nothing can separate them. Standing in the middle of a house filled with memories, they talk about their current worries, about the problems between Victor Newman and Kyle and Claire, about disagreements, about unresolved secrets. These are familiar topics, but this time, they approach every challenge with a calmer mindset, because they are mature enough to understand that as long as they are together, any storm can be overcome. As they stand up, ready to start a new day, Cole suddenly stumbles and almost falls. Victoria runs to him worriedly, but Cole reassures her that he is fine. Despite his efforts to appear strong, Cole's eyes still show the uncertainty, the fear that only those who have faced the line between life and death can understand. Victoria held his hand tightly, as if to give him more strength, more hope for the future, even if it was short. In the following days, Victoria and Cole slowed down, enjoying every simple but meaningful moment. Warm meals, quiet evenings on the porch, tight hugs as if afraid that if they let go, everything would slip away. Cole's presence brought Victoria great encouragement. Each day that passed, she realized more and more that true love is not about distant promises, but about sacrifices, tolerance, and perseverance together when life has few options left. On the outside, Nikki still silently observed, half accepting, half doubting her daughter's decision. She tried to understand and sympathize with Victoria, although in her heart she was always worried about an uncertain future. Nikki also constantly followed Cole's every move, still keeping her vigilance and determination to protect her daughter from any further harm. In her heart, her trust in Cole was broken, but witnessing Victoria's attachment and perseverance, she gradually softened, realizing that her daughter's happiness was the most important thing. Victoria, in an effort to fulfill her duties as a daughter, a mother, a lover, constantly tried to build her small family. She chose to forgive Cole, even though she knew that the wounds of the past did not fade easily. She put her faith in the future, in the ability of people to change and grow from their own failures. Victoria also told herself to be strong, not to let anyone, including Nikki or Victor, shake her will and the happiness that she had sacrificed so much to have. In another small corner of the house, Cole questioned his past mistakes, about the reason he had chosen to deceive Victoria. He realized that it was her love and forgiveness that saved his soul, helping him regain faith in life. Cole knew that time was running out, but he would use all that was left to make up for it, to make Victoria happy even if only for a short moment. Victoria's children gradually accepted Cole's presence, understanding that even though their parents had stumbled and hurt each other, they were still family, still needing each other to overcome unspeakable losses. Nick, the practical older brother, gradually changed from skepticism to support, choosing to stay silent so that Victoria could solve her own problems, because he understood that only those involved knew what was most important. With each passing day, the small family grew closer, each member learned to love, tolerate, and sacrifice for each other. The wedding between Victoria and Holden, although uncertain in time, became a symbol of hope, of love that transcended all limits of fate. It is proof that, even though life is full of injustices and unspeakable pains, people still have the right to dream of happiness, still have the right to hold hands and go to the end of love. In Victoria's heart, there is no fear or doubt that can subdue her will. She is ready to face all storms, because she understands that, as long as there is love, still trust in each other, then even though the days ahead are short, she will still live fully, with all her heart, without leaving anything to regret. Victor is increasingly haunted by Claire's strangely intimate actions towards Kyle. The boss of Newman Enterprises is a suspicious and experienced man, rarely letting anything slip through his fingers without being thoroughly explained. Recently, Victor has noticed Claire's meaningful sparkling gaze towards Kyle, along with sweet words, intimate gestures, and care that he has never seen in the way Claire treats anyone outside of her family. Every time he sees the two of them talking or even just appearing in the same frame, Victor feels uneasy as if a danger is gradually forming under the roof he protects with all his heart. Victor's uneasy feeling grows every day, making him always on guard and thinking about drastic decisions to control the situation. He knows that if Claire decides to live with Kyle, things will get out of control and the safety of his family may be threatened. The biggest question that always haunted Victor was whether Claire could really be trusted. He saw something unpredictable in her, a sharp intelligence but hidden danger of someone who knew how to hide secrets. The idea of firing Claire flashed through Victor's mind as a radical solution, cutting off all potential dangers before it could become a disaster. However, he also understood that such a decision would not be simple, because it could lead to countless unpredictable consequences, especially when Victoria, his daughter, showed support and affection for Claire. Every time he thought about the possibility of having to face Victoria directly about this, Victor felt an invisible pressure weighing on his shoulders. Deep down, he knew how important his approval was to Victoria. For years, she had always wanted to receive her father's nod in every big and small decision in her life, from work to love. However, if Victor goes too far, breaking the fragile boundary between trust and control, he fears that he will hurt Victoria, the strong but also very sensitive girl who has been deeply attached to him through all the storms. Victoria herself also clearly sees the tension that is escalating in the father-daughter relationship. Anxiety is evident on her face every time she has to mention Claire in front of Victor, especially when he seems more distant and cold than usual. She understands her father, understands his growing doubts, and understands even more that if she does not handle it skillfully, the family will fall back into the Cold War that she was so tired of in the past. For Victoria, Victor's approval is not only a symbol of father-daughter love but also an affirmation of the choices, of the life she is trying to build every day. As for Claire, she clearly feels Victor's scrutinizing eyes and implicit questions every time the two interact. However, instead of rushing to live with Kyle to satisfy her personal desires, Claire chose to calmly face it, trying to show as much transparency and honesty as possible. She decided to convince Kyle to postpone the move, even though she knew that this could make Kyle feel disappointed or distrusted. But for Claire, being transparent and reputable in front of her grandfather, whom she deeply respects, is more important than anything else. After sharing the real reason with Kyle, Claire went to Victor, expressing her desire for his support, and affirming her sincerity in every action. To prove her goodwill, Claire offered to join Victor in organizing a special birthday party for Nikki Newman, the woman who has always been the spiritual center of the extended family. For Claire, this was not only an occasion to bring everyone together but also an opportunity to prove to Victor that she sincerely wanted to reconcile with the family. Victor, though agreeing to the proposal, remains wary, always suspecting that Claire may be trying to curry favor with Nikki while hiding other intentions. In his eyes, Claire's every move needs to be tested by time and true loyalty to Newman, not just superficial appearances. Meanwhile, in another space, at the Crimson Lights, Cole meets Nick Newman and Victoria in a completely opposite atmosphere. Nick, with his inherent sense of humor, makes a light joke when he meets Cole again. "I thought you were dead." Cole laughs, confessing that he himself once thought he couldn't overcome it, but thanks to the recent isolation period, he feels stronger and more resilient than ever. Cole's return is one of the highlights that brings a lot of thought to Victoria. When she has to face the past, with the people she was deeply attached to, and at the same time resolve the current conflicts that are surrounding her family. Another meeting took place between Kyle and Holden. Kyle took the initiative to approach Holden, praising his contributions to Jabot, the Abbott corporation that Kyle had always been proud of. Not only that, Kyle also offered to buy Holden a drink, as a way to show courtesy and find a potential ally. However, the atmosphere became more lively when Claire appeared, joining the conversation about favorite drinks and even the band Metallica. Kyle curiously asked Claire and Holden how long they had known each other, but both affirmed that they were not close friends, just people who had encountered each other in life. Things began to get more tense when Audra intervened, unable to hide her sarcasm when criticizing Kyle, even belittling Holden with harsh words, claiming that Abbott was just a waste of her time. Audra had long disliked the Abbott family, always looking for ways to attack and show off her personal power whenever she had the chance. Holden remained calm, recalling the past between him and Audra, implying what had happened, but Kyle insisted that he had overcome everything, no longer concerned about old relationships. Audra, although dissatisfied, could not help but acknowledge Kyle's maturity, who had been caught up in power struggles, now knew how to choose for himself more important and steadfast things than before. Holden concluded with a gentle attitude, saying that it was best for everyone to learn to get along, put aside personal grudges to move forward. Those words, although simple, reminded everyone present that day of the value of unity, the peace of mind that everyone desires but is not easy to obtain in a city that is always on the verge of turmoil like Genoa City. Returning to Victor, he not only had to face the turmoil brought by Claire but was also torn by the feeling of helplessness when he could not completely control his children's lives. Every decision, every action of Victoria makes him think he wants to protect his daughter from mistakes, from people he thinks are not worthy, but the more he tries, the more he pushes his daughter away from him. Victor understands that sometimes, excessive suspicion can cause a rift in the family, but he cannot ignore the potential dangers lurking around the family. During the long nights of restlessness, Victor has to ask himself, is he being too harsh on Claire, or is he simply protecting the traditional values of Newman, which he has spent his whole life building? Is Victoria strong enough to face the challenges ahead without his protection? And most of all, are his doubts about Claire really correct, or are they just shadows of the past, of old pains that have never healed? All of these questions, temporarily, cannot be answered. But on the other hand, the members of the Newman family, each of them, are trying to be true to themselves, with their desires, aspirations, and mistakes. Claire continues to strive to prove her honesty, trying to fit in and showing her heart through concrete actions such as organizing a birthday party for Nikki. Kyle learns to grow up, putting aside the past to look forward to the future with the person he chooses. Victoria struggles between love and the desire to be recognized, and Victor, despite always being tough, has to remind himself that sometimes letting go a little, letting the children grow up on their own, is also the deepest form of love. The spiral of conflict, misunderstanding and hope continues, like the notes that never stop ringing in the symphony of life of the Newman family. And it is these storms that highlight the value of family love, of solidarity, helping them become stronger every day to overcome all the challenges ahead.